And we're live. Greetings, friends. Just a quick live stream. Not anticipating very many people are going to show up, but that's okay. What we're going to do is we just want to ask a few questions today. Who, what, when, where, why, and how. These are directed to Jason Goodman, George Webb, and Trisha Negron. Now, things have obviously gone off the rail in many ways, and a lot of people have decided to choose sides, I guess, if you want to call it choosing sides. The fact of the matter is that all of the sides are rather murky at this particular time. But the questions that are really at the top of mind, especially since George was just detained in Ohio by the FBI, or by the local police department, and then questioned by the FBI. And the subsequent follow-up video that Jason posted earlier today about picking him up, where he actually doxed himself. You know, Jason, that was silly, and you know, I kind of would like to laugh, but it's really not funny. That just shows how inept you're running your crowdsource organization. If you're willing to dox yourself, obviously you guys have let the cat out of the bag on many of your sources, one way or another, by either prodding them to release their name because that's so important, or this or that. We'll center around Ohio for one moment, and that is way down the page down here. Let's see if we can get it to show up. So the reason why I made this little notepad is so that everybody can take a look at it. Then ask yourself the who, what, when, where, why, how. Okay? Let's go down a little bit. Now, a lot of people have a lot of things to say about a lot of stuff. Apparently, every person out there is a CrowdStrike. Every person out there is working for Hillary Clinton. Every person out there is covering for the Awan brothers. Every person out there that doesn't agree with Jason Goodman, George Webb, and Trisha Negron, that is. This is problematic, friends, because one thing that I have not noticed is where are the documents, but that's regardless of that. Where is their tutorials or their facts, FAQs, whatever you might want to call it, depending on, you know, what aspect of an investigation it is? Have they discussed how encryption, privacy, security, submitting info works when dealing with them? Now, they're gathering all of their so-called intelligence via social media, which that's a problematic in itself. Jason is using GoDaddy service for a domain name, which he directs to his Facebook group. This is another problem. If you have to go to a Facebook group, typically speaking, what ends up happening is you have to sign up for Facebook, or you already have to be a part of Facebook. Facebook over the last couple years has really pushed, even though it was a part of it back then. Facebook is pushing for you to make a timeline of your life, which means all of you that are participating within this crowdsourced venture within Facebook itself have not only exposed yourself, but have exposed everyone within your extended group within Facebook. Twitter is a little more anonymous, I guess you might say, but since Facebook actually was the catalyst for everybody thinking that your name has to be everywhere. Post your name, post your picture, post this, post your family, post your friends, post your kids, post your parents, post everybody. So you're about to post everybody. You're supposed to share everything about everybody in your life. Now, this is a marketing gimmick. We know that. We know that if they develop these algorithms and this data now, that by the time your children, if you have children, get older, they're going to know everything about you and your kids, everything they've done their whole lives, all of their extended friends, family, associates, likes, dislikes, whatever. Now, from a marketing angle, that's great for selling products, and that's how Facebook pushes it. We need to do it for the advertisers. We need to do it for marketing. We need to sell ads. We need to know who gets the ads. This sounds kind of logical from a marketing perspective, but the fact of the matter is that Facebook is rather opaque. So their second, well, one of their second avenue, primary avenue, would be, I guess, their YouTube conundrum. At which point, now you have now spread the exposure to the people that are communicating with you across platforms. So now you're adding Google, aka Alphabet, which is a behemoth, which is more powerful than the vast majority of the countries in the world at this point, probably. And if it hasn't become more popular than the United States or the combined Five Eyes, it's damn near close. And that's a problem. You should think of it. Then we add in Twitter. There again is another platform. It's great for gathering research and having people participate, but their push to get everybody to jump on the bandwagon everywhere is going to allow good actors, bad actors, nefarious actors access to your multiple platforms easier than it would have been. You know, you can make them work for it. They have tools, they have software that can do this for them. But, you know, hey, why make it easier for them? Why haven't they given you the tools to actually submit information or communicate within them, or with them, I should say, within the group, outside of the purview of these three privately controlled entities that have abilities to not only track you, but they have the ability to shut you down? It's a bad idea. Very bad idea. Now Jason redirects his website to Facebook, his Facebook group, which you need to be a member to participate. General public that's not logged in can view the page, but not the group, without being logged in. So even if you are just looking at it, they know you're looking at it. You know, maybe that's a little paranoia, maybe you don't want to worry about it. But you know, they have been pushing paranoia a lot lately. They have been pushing paranoia to the extreme. All you have to do is go to the Crowdsource the Truth Twitter page, and here, this is what we'll do. If we can get a window to open, because we have a lot of stuff going on here. A lot of time wasting too, which sucks. So we'll go to Crowdsource the Truth, where it's a big push to go to crowdsourcethetruth.org. And we can go to George Webb, which is another problematic, because he wants you to go to nomoreinformants.com. A lot of people don't like that. Some people have looked at that particular site and they think there's something nefarious about it. And then you go to their, I guess, eye candy, if you will, Trisha Negron. AKA Trisha Dishes, whatever. And if you notice here, I'm using a browser that's not the typical browser. So you should probably consider looking at these particular pages and scroll down. Now Tricia is supposedly a journalist, and a journalist always asks those questions: who, what, when, where, why, how. But if you troll down her page, she uses a lot of retweets. So all it is retweet. Retweet, 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 retweet. How come this stellar journalist that is the best hasn't been writing follow-up articles related to either all of Jason's videos or all of George's videos? How come there are no summaries? That adds to the web of questions. Obviously, Jason is not well versed in OPSEC, operational security, and they haven't even given out any tips. All of them are using what appear to be Apple and Windows devices. Certainly there's an Android device in there, or one or another. Now, they like to point out WikiLeaks, Vault 7. That's fantastic. That is fantastic. The problem is that Vault 7 has shown that Windows is 100% exploited. Apple is 100% exploited. And we can assume that Google is pretty much 100% exploited, with the exception that Google does have some open source to it. So a little bit of open source, a big chunk of corporate proprietary technologies. You know, business is business. Business is good. So a lot of the stuff that they have going on is based on conjecture, speculation, facts. Well, not really facts. We think they're facts, but they mix those conjecture and speculation into facts with a bunch of figures thrown in. We don't know what the definitions are. They don't know what the definitions are to half the things they're talking about. They talk about metadata. They talk about this. They talk about that. Well, where's the metadata that you've accumulated? We want to know that. Now, this project that Jason had going on, Crowdsource the Truth, he keeps talking about not having the ability to do web pages, which is fine. A lot of people don't. He talks about a budget. He's on a budget. He can't afford anything. Well, when he started this, before him and George really got, well, when he really infiltrated George's world, I would have thought that maybe he would have, you know, tossed out, what, grand, couple grand. He just threw out $3,500 to get George out of jail. If he would have spent $3,500 a month ago, he could have had himself a server, off-site and on-site, set up over in, say, Iceland, where there's they have pretty good privacy legislation there. And all of the information that they had, they could have had there. They could have had all of their stuff stored outside of the purview of the investigation or the people that they're investigating, such as the 5-letter agencies. Now, when George got detained in Ohio, obviously his electronic equipment, or his phone, would have been put into a, you know, evidence bag, not evidence bag, whatever you would call it. You know, when they put you in, they put all your stuff in an envelope or something for safekeeping. Does anybody really think that if the FBI showed up there, that they didn't data dump his phone before they gave it back to him? He did walk out with it. I noticed that in Jason's video. He walked out of it. Now, George's videos for today, it really seems like he's still in a hotel in Ohio. We know that he's got a month, I believe, a month and a day or so until his court date. So is he locked in to Ohio at this particular moment? Is he not to leave the state? Why is he not at least driving around? He was supposed to have all kind of big things going on in Ohio to go meet up his people. Well, I will tell you, anybody that meets up with him after he's been investigated or been questioned, I'm sorry, investigated, that's speculation, questioned by the FBI, do you think anybody's going to want to meet up with him now that might want to give him some anonymous tips? Anybody that thinks that he hasn't been tracking or been tracked could have just followed Tricia along just look down her Twitter feed. She has all kind of stuff. All kind of stuff. They haven't provided any secure way to submit info to them. Not at all. So as soon as you text the guy, you're on the radar. For better or for worse. Now, we know that, some of this is down and dirty, and you got to do what you got to do sometimes. Sometimes you got to, step it up. But other times, maybe you should really pay attention to who you're dealing with in the story. Now, it seems like, on top of that, we have no access to archives. There's no appendix of where they're going with this investigation. There's no glossary of terms. There's no outline. There's no categorization of all of these, little bits and pieces. We haven't seen any documents. We've heard them talk about them. And what's really problematic is, where is the data that they're gathering located? Do they have offsite backups? And do they have a dead man switch? Just in case, the name speaks for itself. It's a little broader than just dead man switch. But it seems like we have a lot of circular logic or circular reasoning going on. If you were one that was going to spend your time watching the live streams, I would have to probably say 90% of the live streams are going around in a circle, around in a circle, around in a circle, reminding you of all kind of things that really are not, connected. So this web is so big that it's not funny. And it's really not funny. Now, we understand how corruption works. That's not good. But we have the propaganda angle, three-letter agencies, dog whistles, which, might be all tied into what happened with the port shutdown. We got the three-letter agencies. We have something that I haven't heard mentioned in any of their videos or any of their discussions or any of their presentations. It's called ideological subversion. Now, the reason why I bring that up is because one of the primary methods of ideological subversion is by getting your mark drunk. All the way up until Jason showed up. We didn't know that maybe George has a little bit of a drinking problem, maybe likes wine. Hey, that's fine. But George is a different person when he's on the wine. And it seems to me like Jason kind of exploits that. Maybe not, maybe so. Seems like Trish might exploit that. Maybe not, maybe so. Obviously, that's conjecture. Speculation. What really became a problem was when we seen George the one night passed out on the couch. Now, George says he trusts them. Not so sure he should do that. Because that was rather odd. Why would you show a picture of George passed out on the couch? Oh, he's working so hard. Yeah, he's working hard. Possibly. But why would you do that to the man? Why would you expose him? Why would Jason and Trisha expose George like that? I don't know, I can't really say, but it seems kind of weird. Now, another big problem we have is the fact that everybody has questions, especially around Seth Rich. Oddly enough, we know that the justice system is long, takes a long time to get to the bottom of things. We may or may not agree with the way that our agencies, our police agencies and investigators handle things. But we're going to have a big problem, I bet. And this might derail all of those, because we're going to have a lot of interference and a lot of contamination of evidence. And that is not good. How is anybody going to be able to pool a jury or get witnesses to testify, people to volunteer? And how do we know that those people haven't been fed a whole bunch of bad information, misinformation, that if they do get interviewed is going to throw things off the rail? And as far as conspiracies go, the one thing that really caught my eye way early in the George Webb days, when it seemed like he was, connecting some dots, throwing some things out there for those that would like to research that you can go back up and, go research. Short videos, to the point, slideshows, things like that. The one topic that he brought up, and the reason why he said he was doing this, when he first mentioned a long time ago that, I guess, quote, old Mossad, quote, end quote, was that it had to do with Stinger missiles. That's kind of what piqued a little bit of my interest, and I started kind of listening in the background while doing work. I haven't heard him mention those Stinger missiles lately. He was talking about the Stinger missiles that were getting sold to the terrorists. Stinger missiles that were going to be used against Israel and against Florida. So we'll put that to the side for now, but that is really troubling for me. Then he talks about black markets. He would lead you to believe that the Awan brothers control all of the black markets. Black marketing has been going on for longer than most things probably. They probably had black markets before there was a market. Jeez. The Awan brothers control all the black markets? I will tell you, where I'm from, the Awan brothers don't control any black markets. They're the furthest away from black markets. Cigarettes? You can get illegal cigarettes just about anywhere, everywhere. Contraband. The Awan brothers don't control the illegal cigarette market. Car thefts? I didn't type that in there. Car thefts and car transportation. They've been putting cars, stealing cars and putting them on ships forever and a day. We've seen that in the early Syrian crisis where Joe the plumber's truck from Texas ended up in Syria. Hey, it was a good advertisement for Ford because, Toyota is getting advertising out the ass because obviously they make a damn good pickup truck. But then again, hey, it is what it is. We do see a lot of General Motors products, etc. in Iraq. We did after the invasion, which is good, buy American. And I know that Pepsi plant that Saddam had going on pissed a lot of people off. Well, now they have real Pepsi. But they're paying real prices. If there's a store around for them to go to, that is. So we have the corruption angle. He has so many people tied up in corruption that it's not funny. Now, he's probably right on the vast majority of them. But, in order to build a corruption case, you have to do it properly. You can't go out there and just throw things out there willy-nilly. That's dangerous. You can't go out there and name people's names without some, without some basis of fact. I mean, sure, you can use your disclaimers and say, hey, so-and-so is a criminal, so-and-so is a murderer, blah, 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 blah. In my opinion, or I'm speculating that. I haven't proved it. And as far as now, it looks like today, the big kick is radiation. Radiation. I'm no scientist, but I do know a little bit about thyroid disease. And I know a little bit about how radiation kills your thyroid. You want to go check out radiation and find out if there's a big issue with radiation. You want to go pull all those manifests, blah, 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 blah. For 100 years, a manifest for Merck's shipping. You know how many ships are out there? You know how much stuff is on those ships? There's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of illegal contraband, a lot of real contraband, a lot of real products, legitimate products. There's a lot of stuff on a cargo ship. Thousands of cargo ships out there. And I will say, I would have to guess that anything that is floating around anywhere near Japan since 2011 is probably loaded up with some type of radiation or another. I mean, have they ever found the bottom of the hole where the core went in the reactor there? That could be considered a cover-up. Who the hell knows? But we can't tie all of this stuff together. It's just ridiculous. If you are going to tie it together, you have to detangle it and disseminate the information properly. If all roads lead to Hillary Clinton, maybe they do. Who knows? But I'm going to tell you, Hillary Clinton is a tool, just like they're all tools. She makes some money. Whatever. She's a criminal. Whatever. Somebody will figure it out. But you know what? When you get to positions of power, typically speaking, everybody knows. It is what it is. You're in a position of power. While you're in that position of power and afterward, typically nowadays, everybody gets to go somewhere. overthrow somebody, they always give them a place to go. Little island, little paradise. Hey, give us your treasury. Give us your throne. We'll fly you off somewhere onto an island or somewhere where you can have asylum. If you don't think that if the Clintons are as dirty as they are, that they're not going to get offered asylum somewhere, you know, I guess. But then again, that seems what George's thinking is. I think that's where he comes up with that. You know, because that's how justice is. We know that. We have two-tier justice. We have justice that favors the wealthy who can afford to pay themselves out of it. They get embarrassed. They don't care. Their circle of friends don't care. Those people don't care. It's all about making money. Would you care if you were embarrassed if it got you $1 billion or $500 million or $1 million even? You know, it sure beats getting embarrassed and losing your job and not having anything out of the deal. So really, you know, I guess to make it short and sweet, we don't have enough information on any of these players. They all seem shady on all sides at some point. But until we can actually see some real documentation that is available to somebody that doesn't want to expose themselves and their family and their circle of associates, then why bother with this? This is dangerous. It is outright dangerous. What they are doing, even if it's with the best intentions, is outright dangerous. Nothing good can be had from communicating with people that have been compromised. And it is damn certain now, at the very least, that George is compromised. So if George is compromised, and, well, let's add another thing. When Jason flew out to Ohio, finally, because nobody was going to go take care of George, maybe George should have stayed there and then he could have gotten into rehab, sorted his stuff out, and cooled himself off. Here's an odd thing for you conspiracy theorists out there. What was that damn pizza remark in Jason's video when he went to go pick up his buddy? There you go. That should throw all of you people that want to crowdsource the truth and that are with you know, what some people are calling a cult. If that's what you're looking for, that's not very good. George has already, you know, alluded to the fact that, hey, a little bit of child exploitation is fine. Well, no bit of child exploitation is fine at all, period. End of discussion. So, getting back to the Ohio connection. Jason finally flew out to Ohio. Maybe he would have been better off staying in New York because he was gone for quite a while. And if he doesn't think that somebody didn't get into his apartment and compromise all of his equipment, if it already hasn't been, you've heard him talking about his Wi-Fi access, his, you know, problems. You know, everybody has those kind of issues. But if his router is jammed, why doesn't he have a freaking high security router? Why doesn't he have a military grade router, military grade keyboard, military grade monitor, military grade handheld devices, whether they be tablets or hand phones? Why is that? Why wouldn't he have a military grade? You know, something that is ultra secure, you know, virtually bulletproof, where you really have to really get into it. You really have to get into the device in order to, you know, well, obviously they can rootkit anything, the three-letter agencies of one or another. You know, I guess I'll leave it on the, because it's getting kind of long and I'm kind of rambling. I think what we should do is look up, just for those that you know, want to do a little bit of research. Research what circular logic or reasoning is, and research what ideological subversion is, research what contamination of evidence is. Then, if there are any other questions, I would suggest that you ask them of Jason, George, and Tricia, and ask them why they are not being responsible in protecting your privacy. Why they're not concerned with your data, your family, your friends. Obviously, well, I can't say obviously because I'm not logging in to talk to these people on these, you know, these groups. I wouldn't log on with them. While I do have a little bit of a, you know, presence, I guess, if you will, with the web shop now, trying to build an open source learning and education community with a few friends. And I really didn't want to use this for, you know, what it is being used for at this particular juncture. It's no good. Don't want to contaminate that. But, you know, I kind of get drawn in a little bit because it is what it is. And it's not good, I don't think, the way they're doing this. You know, it's just my opinion. But even if you go to Stranahan, you look at Stranahan, how he wants to do crowdsourcing, at least he has a journalism school. Maybe the three of them should go enroll in, you know, Stranahan's journalism school. Learn a couple of things. Learn how to protect your sources. Learn how to protect your data. Learn how to be smart and ask the right questions. And no, I don't think Julian Assange was tweeting anything to these guys. I don't think Kim.com had anything to do with these guys. You know, they might be nice guys, and I don't want to put, you know, weird, you know, I don't know what you would say, how you would say it. Jeez. They are not that important that Julian Assange would be worried about them, or else Julian Assange would have retweeted the crowdsource the truth angle. I think whatever is going on with WikiLeaks and Julian Assange has to do with more than just George and his, I don't know, his crowdsourced the truth and shut down a port. What is the next thing? You know, what's that? That must have cost $1 million. I mean, that's taxpayer money. I think we should use taxpayer money to do things that benefit the taxpayer, not to waste the taxpayer's time. Everybody knows that the whole system is pretty much rigged or corrupted in various aspects. And everybody knows that there are a lot of good people, a lot of bad people, but it's the mix of it. You can't get too wrapped up in the wrong things, I don't think. It just doesn't seem to be a good idea. If you're going to do something like that, you know, you need to really protect the people that you're working with. You need to protect them. More so than you protect yourself. Sadly enough, they seem to have exposed a lot of people, and the further we go, they let out a little more and more and more about how we had to hide this, we had to hold this back, we had to hold that back. I think if this is to become anything, or to be worthy of anything, they better buckle down, take a break, get their shit together, start worrying about protecting you, and start getting their data organized so that more people can see this data that they're collecting. I don't believe that they're actually collecting anything. They spend too much time on camera. They spend too much time retweeting what other people think and trying to make it appear as if they are being talked to. They're not being talked to. They're grasping at straws. They have a good thing going for themselves, apparently. You know, fame, fortune, who the hell knows? But friends, all I can say is, please be careful out there. Protect yourself. Learn something about encryption. Learn something about privacy. Learn something about security. And if you're going to get involved in this game, like was suggested to me way back when, in some crowdsourcing ventures before it was, you know, a term or became popular, never use Windows, never use Apple. Well, back then they used to say, hey, Apple's secure, but, well, unfortunately that was a lie we found out from Vault 7. So I would suggest that you learn how to use Linux in some fashion. At the very least, get Tails on a USB drive or a CD so that you can do your deal without contaminating your IP, without drawing in your ISP, without getting the three-letter agencies all over you, as well as your either state, city, provincial, municipal, whatever you want to call it. All of the people that know where you are, when you are, at any particular time. You need to protect yourself, friends. Now, they might be doing a lot of great things, and certainly I'm going to have a whole bunch of Twitter trolls coming up and with their, oh, you only got a couple followers. This is not what this is about, and I really don't care about that. I might engage with them a little bit, but I really don't care. You know, there's bigger fish to fry. There's things to do. Some people do have work. I kind of appreciated George in the beginning, but now I'm not really sure. He should have took a break. You should have took a break, George. You should have took a break. But I want to just finish this up real quick with the web of questions. Who, what, when, where, why, how. Until you can answer that, George, Jason, and Trisha, then everybody should stay away from you until you can answer those questions, because your friends or your followers or your subscribers are being exposed to things that may have lifelong ramifications. Lifelong ramifications that will have no way out. The blowback from this, now that you're doubling down with your shipping, cargo, container theory, if you don't get sued by Maersk, you'll be lucky, at the very least. So, I don't know. Friends, nothing is ever the way it appears. We know that. Everybody is getting information and misinformation from all kind of angles. Social media makes it worse. But all I can say, I guess, once again, to wrap this up is, let's be careful out there. Peace and love to you. If you have any comments, please leave them in the bottom of the comment section. Have a great day, and see you later.